Hey everybody, it's F-Bomb Fitzgerald, and this blitz game was pretty fun. I ended up winning pretty comfortably on time, but there were a lot of fun positions in the mid-game, so let's jump right in. I go ahead and start off with my favorite white opening, the bishop's opening, and here he gets a little aggressive, kind of bringing his knight past the center line, but now nothing is defending this e5 pawn. So I grab it with the idea of I'm putting a ton of pressure on his f7 pawn here. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm up a pawn. I like my position more, but this counterattack is actually really good that he does. He's attacking my knight, which is undefended, but he's also attacking this g2 pawn and then eventually my rook. So, at a minimum, he's probably going to grab these two pawns if I don't address it. But I decide to stay aggressive. I go ahead and just throw the check, forcing him to move his king because he can't block it. And now, at a minimum, he can't castle, but I am in a pretty tenuous position because nothing's defending my knight. Once he captures this knight with his queen, nothing's going to be defending this bishop. And of course, I still haven't addressed his queen attack on the g2 pawn. I go ahead and just basically say goodbye to my knight. I castle. I feel very secure in my defensive position. He grabs the material. I bring the bishop back. I feel good about my center, and I'm really only down 1 point in material, so I'm not feeling too bad. He backs up. I try and kick his knight out of the center. Here he's threatening checkmate. I could probably address it with just pushing the g pawn to g3, but instead I play this much more aggressive response where I'm trying to really, kick his queen, address the checkmate threat, but also eventually push this f-file as aggressively as I can because he can't castle to escape. He doesn't have a pawn there. I think that's pretty aggressive, but I like it. He surprises me with this check, buying himself a tempo. He's going to have to eventually move his queen on the next move anyway, but it doesn't really do much. And now instead of him being up a pawn, now he's down 2 pawns. He's forced to back up, and at this stage, I'm going to just keep bullying his bishop, pushing it, because that's really his only developed piece. Nothing else is developed. I like my position a lot more, except that this bishop is not defended, so I need to be a little careful there. But yeah, I've got both of my bishops in the center. My pawn positions are better, and my king is a lot more secure than his. So I don't mind getting pushed out. At this stage, with this pawn push, I actually consider capturing en passant, because then I'd be able to keep my bishop in this aggressive position, keeping that pressure on that f7 square. But I didn't really like what it was going to do to my pawn position, so I instead just retreat. We're just kind of finishing out our development, it looks like. It almost looks like he's setting up a queenside castle, but obviously he can't castle because he moved his king earlier. So I'm just going to keep pushing my pawns, really just contesting the center as much as possible. And here, I'm really just trying to be as aggressive as I can. I've made this bishop move so many times in this game. I think he got sick of it, which is why he trades. I'm happy to trade back because that bishop was his most active piece, and he just traded it for my least active piece. And now I'm left with a bishop pair, while all of his stuff is kind of cramped. I mean, his knight can't even really develop other than this, h6 square, which doesn't really do anything. Yeah, I'm just going to keep my pawns as linked as I can over here. If he contests it, fine. Then I can start bringing in my rook into the equation. I'm liking my position a lot here. And yeah, again, you see what a terrible square he's forced to move to. And I'm going to try and exploit that by pushing my pawn here. The idea being that if he captures back with the knight, I wanted to advance this pawn regardless. But if he doesn't capture back with the knight, then I can just grab his knight for free. And sure enough, he makes the wrong decision. I don't know if it was time pressure or he just missed it. I grab the free knight. And at this stage, I'm up 4 points of material. This bishop is going to be kind of hard for him to kick. It's actually going to be really hard for him to kick. And yeah, his king is kind of like exposed there in the center. So I'm really liking my position. I'm eventually planning on doing some sort of attack on this f-file. He can't even bring the rook here to contest it because my bishop's contesting that f8 square. So yeah, overall feeling pretty solid. Brings the queen in to attack my bishop, but it's not really threatening very much other than the bishop itself. So I stay aggressive. Yeah, he can go ahead and capture my bishop if he wants to, but then I'll just go ahead and capture his rook, and he can't even take back. So he needs to make that calculus. I move my bishop to safety. Eventually, I'm trying to get my bishop to the f6 square because that's going to be hard to kick and it'll be really deep in his back line. He counters with this nice counter check, grabbing this undefended center pawn that I totally missed. I slide my king to safety, and he puts pressure on this bishop. You know, eventually I do want to get the bishop to this f6 square, and I probably could do that immediately, but I see a way to do the same while not giving up a tempo. So I go ahead and throw the check. He backs up. I'm finally able to get my bishop to the square I wanted all along, keeping up the pressure. He backs up. I can grab either this pawn to keep up the check pressure, which probably would have been pretty good. It would force him only to this square. But I am a little bit nervous about this pawn in the short term, and also how little is defending this pawn other than the bishop. So instead, I grab here. I'm still threatening that 7 rank attack, and this is still undefended. So this was a little bit of a weird decision here. I don't know if he's just trying to create exit squares for himself, but I'm not really interested in fighting with these pawns while I can still keep the pressure on his king and gaining material on this side. So I grab, he backs up, and at this stage, I thought this was very cute. I go ahead and I play this discovered attack on his queen. You know, my bishop is defended by my rook here, so it's a safe attack. And, you know, honestly, threatening a passed pawn, this is a real threat. It's not just a decoy. But with only 30 seconds on the clock for him, I'm kind of hoping he misses the discovered attack. And he does. He totally just drops the queen there. So I grab that for free. He takes back, but I'm up a full queen. He only has 15 seconds on the clock, and I've got a minute 20. So this is a pretty strong winning position. I bring my rook here. He ends up timing out, so I win at this stage. But the idea here is, you know, he can't recapture, or he can't capture this passed pawn, because then I'll just take his other rook with this queen. So at this stage, you know, I have any number of attacks I can do. Windmilling him on the 7 rank with these pieces until I checkmate him, or if I want to like be a jerk and just keep pushing this up, bringing my rook in, it's a winning position regardless. But yeah, it was kind of nice to win with that much time left on the clock. Anyway, let me know in the comment section what you thought of this game and what you think of my general strategy of choosing aggression over being conservative, especially in a blitz game when you're up on time. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!